Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay. Welcome back to the Shadowlands Alpha First Pass First Impressions coverage here on my YouTube channel. The week of Fel continues. It's the Demonology Warlock, and it really hasn't changed very much, unfortunately. I will go over a whole bunch of weird things that still exist and the feedback that has been distilled through the live streams and through some documents and a forum thread that is very nice that I will of course link down below. But it's basically the same thing without the cool stuff, air quotes, from BFA, or obviously the potentially cooler stuff you had back in Legion, which we know now post the interview that Preach just did, that there is obviously borrowed power coming. This is how the game works now. There is the base kit, and if things don't really work or feel the best, then the borrowed power fixes it. But then it goes away again and comes back in the next expansion. It's just kind of how the devs are doing things. But if you want to keep up to date with all of the testing that has been going on, then check the link in the description box down below for the channel guide. Therein, on that channel guide, you will find the dungeon runs, you will find the testing VODs, you will find the overall links to every single thing I have done from this expansion and the previous two, if you would like to go back in time and not think you heard or remembered something from the past, but actually go back and see what it was at the time, or the thoughts and feedbacks that I distilled from 2 expansions ago, if you would like to. Also on that list, that Google document, there will be listings for both my Twitter and my Discord. People asked me today on stream, what is the best way to give me questions if you can't actually be here for the testing broadcast, which are also scheduled there, but Twitter and Discord. Anyone can join my Discord if you'd like, and of course anyone can follow me on Twitter if you do the tweets. So hit me up on either of those platforms if you need to ask me questions or watch when a video goes live, because I post whenever things go up. But today, of course, we're going to go over, shout out to that random player over on Invincible there, we'll go over Demonology Warlock, as you can see in the talent panel, and we'll go through the base spell things here. Nothing really has adjusted, but I'm going to go over the baseline things, of course, first. One of the biggest or most maybe yay moments is that Demonic Circle now is no longer a talent. It is baseline for all Warlocks. You still get the Demonic Circle teleport button and the Demonic Circle cast, so you can blip back your Demonic Circle every 30 seconds, drop that circle down. It no longer is a talent you have to fiddly doodah with. I think it was down here in the 40 row. Additionally, and this is the weird one because it's good and bad and funky and weird, is curses are back. Curse of Tongues, Curse of Recklessness, Curse of Weakness. Still have Curse of Doom, but it's not the same version you have on live, which actually does something. So those are all back. Doom, Tongues, Recklessness, Weaknessness, and Recklessness is the 10% more physical damage done by the target, and they take 5% more physical for 2 minutes. This stacks with the Monk buff. So the Mystic Touch, 5% physical damage taken, and Curse of Recklessness do stack, which, if you're picking up what I'm putting down right off the gate here, if you are a Warlock, you will A, have a guaranteed raid spot. B, maybe if the 3 of you will have guaranteed raid spots, if you're looking at a mythic raid scenario. And C, no Curse of Elements or Shadows, so you only apply the 5% physical. My thought on that is, why don't you also have Curse of Elements or Shadows back that does the Demon Hunter debuff? So at least you bring that as well. Maybe that's too much utility for the Warlock to have, but like, if you're going to go all the way with curses, then just do that. You can only have 1 curse on each individual target. So if you are the Curse of Recklessness Warlock on this patchwork boss fight or wherever, you're casting Curse of Wreck every minute and 45 or every new mob switchover or whatever. That's your curse. That's all you're casting. If you're the Weakness Warlock, then you're just casting Weakness the whole fight and keeping the debuff up on the boss the whole fight. We vanilla now, boys. This is time increase between melee attacks by 20%. The old sort of slow down effect on auto attack speeds. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that you're only casting curses. If you have a rogue in your group, rogues also bring numbing, poison, which does slow down attack speeds and casting speeds. However, it might be weaker if it's not an assassination rogue. So, there's that there too. Curse of Tongues, however, this one still might be flagged as a PvP curse. It forces the target to speak in demonic, increasing the casting time of all spells by 30% for 30 seconds. First thing to note there, only lasts for 30 seconds. Other curses last for 2 minutes and 2 minutes. Curse of Tongues, however, in the new dungeon, which I've run twice now, which if you can go watch the footage if you want to, on the channel guide for both Demonology and Affliction and Destruction, I'm assuming in the future, but I haven't done that yet because I'm not a time traveler. I could not put Curse of Tongues on anything that were bosses, which may be fine, because imagine if you could put Curse of Tongues on Mythic Jaina and it changes how her spell queuing works, which is both maybe for or against how you could manipulate what spells they cast or how long they take to channel their big build-up spells. So I don't know. That to me seems very, very suspect and maybe breaks the game in not fun mechanical ways for players. So I'm going to imagine that the whitelist, blacklist of what works with Curse of Tongues, it might not affect bosses at all. So they'll just you using recklessness or weakness, depending on if your tank wants to take less damage, or you have a bunch of physical damage that can improve upon with 5% more taken. But I gotta remember, if you can't counteract, say on a boss mob, if you put Curse of Recklessness up and the other warlock puts up weakness, you're sort of dampening the fact that they do 10% more physical damage to your tanks while they swing 20% slower. The weird thing there, of course, is it does the trade-off, which is very warlock-ish. But if in practice that works out, or you just only cast weakness and you never cast recklessness, who knows? Also, because how many actual physical damage dealing players do you normally have in a raid? Sans your 2 tanks, 3, maybe 4 melee, maybe hunters. Pet damage, right? A lot of damage is going to be coming from normally casters. In Mythic raid settings, you've got only 2, 3, 4 melee, and enhancement shamans do a lot of magic damage. Rogues do a lot of magic damage unless they're like full outlaw rogues, right? Only warriors are like the only physical class next to feral druids. Feral druids top keck, whatever you want to say in the comments about that one. But it's strange, and it only gets stranger when you bring Curse of Doom into this. This is the old version of Curse of Doom. It lasts for a full minute. It's still the accordion, where if you cast Curse of Doom on a target, we'll walk up over here real quick. If you cast Curse of Doom on a target, it basically puts a timestamp in for when that curse will tick. And if you refresh it, it still keeps its position, because you can obviously pandemic the ability to last longer, to last that extra 30, up to 30% more of the cast. Get back over here, you madman. But it's only going to tick once. Every freaking forever. Every minute, reduced by haste. And if Doom kills the target, there's a 5% chance to summon an uncontrollable Doom Guard to fight for you for 25 seconds. And the new talent for it is Improved Curse of Doom, which all that does is allows Curse of Doom to tick basically twice per cast and deal double damage, which makes it almost like the Doom you have now, I guess. And the Curse of Doom, if it kills the target, makes the Doom Guard instantly enslaved. But I was told, and if you're a seasoned warlock that's been looking at Curse of Doom all this time, it doesn't actually do that. And the chance to even make that happen is so awkwardly forced flavor that many of the warlocks in yesterday's testing stream and today just said, forget about it. Just remove it. Just don't use it. Why is it there? It's a very old school ability, but it doesn't work in current World of Warcraft. And again, because you're going to probably be using recklessness or weakness or maybe even tongues, I don't know. You're never going to cast, you're going to cast an open world, I guess, and maybe get a Doom Guard if it even works. So, let me know down below what you think of Curse of Doom, because I never cast it. I don't think in any of the dungeons we've done. There's no point. It didn't feel like it did anything. And things didn't either. On bosses, it'll last long enough to tick 3 times. It does the damage of like a handful of shadow bolts. over multiple minutes. It's just, it doesn't, I don't think it belongs anymore. And many of the warlocks, I think, have been echoing the fact that it probably doesn't belong anymore. Other big things. Corruption. You have that baseline, which is in probably the wrong part of the spell book. Where is it? Everything's out of order for some dang reason. But corruption is here for demonology. And yes, it's the cast time version. And no, it doesn't generate soul shards or do anything for you. It just deals essentially 2 shadow bolts worth of damage over 14 seconds. You'll probably never cast this. I cannot imagine you'll ever cast this spell. Because demonology, in particular, is very much about if you're not generating soul shards or spending soul shards, you're doing it wrong. Because there's no other thing you need to do on demonology than to cast soul shard abilities and build soul shard abilities to summon, in this regard, basically only imps. Get in there. Blah, 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 blah. So it just feels really strange that you have corruption. It's so weak. And of course, it's damage numbers from alpha, right? We have no idea. They might buff the crap out of it, so it'll be worth hitting. Or it might be complete nonsense and you won't even worry about it, right? It may not do anything. And again, we're... So who knows? It's a strange one to be brought back. All warlocks have it. It's instant cast for affliction, and it's fine. They also have, you know, things like affliction that can have it forever, right? Which I can't think of the name right. Absolute corruption. I just used it in the dungeon run, but my brain farted there for a moment. Sure, I guess. And probably the dumbest change so far, by long and short, of not having it flagged for only PvP is, you know how you don't have an interrupt, right? As a Demonology Warlock, and you can't really use Fell Hunter. Maybe you could, you know, pet swap. Hold on, was that a bug? Every pet summon is 6 seconds now. In the Demonology Warlock video, if you go back and watch the with comms, my Felguard died to the first boss in the new dungeon. He has a Thorns aura. I didn't like move him off the boss, so he just kept attacking it and killed himself. Standing still in combat, casting a 6-second demon summon. You might as well just like just leave the dungeon. It's so awful. It's a PvP nerf. So you don't just like resummon your demon immediately. I get that. But if it's supposed to be an aura behind the scenes so that when you're in PvP, maybe it's a big deal, because right now there's no point in attacking pet summons. Same thing for hunters too, because you can just immediately resummon it. It's just like, it's back. So this is a huge weird one for PvE when you don't have an interrupt and you want to maybe, you know, pet weave, demon weave into a Fell Hunter to grab an interrupt and then resummon your Felguard. Not ideal, but currently you still don't have an interrupt. So that it's dead. You're not going to spend 12 seconds hard casting demon summons to get one interrupt. So if you're destruction or affliction, sure, you can have Fell Hunter out. Really not a huge difference in damage. Normally you use imp though, because it's a ranged pet and singe magic can be really helpful for you. Or you can have Fell Hunter out. It has to run all the way up to the mobs and has travel time between mob, but it can still get your interrupt, right? You can have Mind Lock. I don't know what the point of this decision is. It's very strange. Other things that I guess are fine. Dark Pact about to scale with some spell power to maybe be good enough to compete against Burning Rush, which still, in the feedback thread, like I mentioned a little earlier in the intro, there's a really, really good thread that's posted on the alpha forums by Baal and a bunch of other contributing warlocks. And there's also a Google document that is linked in the Warlock Discord, but it's made a Google document for me, given to me over by Dragon, to summarize a whole bunch of additional feedback from other prominent warlocks. This is your this is your defensive tier, right? Your DR tier. Demon Skin, maybe a little weak, but still does what it does, right? Gives you passive DR, stacking, give you more absorb on your Soul Leech. Dark Pact, if it scales with more spell power, then maybe it could be pretty good. You could get a pretty chunky Dark Pact shield. Right now, it currently does not scale, as you see there, the additional 0. But Burning Rush is movement, and it hurts you, which is very warlocky. But why is it in your tier to take less damage? And sure, maybe movement speed does lead to moving out of the thing that could deal a lot of damage to you. But this is definitely one of the weird pain points for Warlock, is that can Burning Rush just be baseline? I know everything doesn't need to be baseline, but it feels kind of Warlockish to hurt yourself to move a little bit faster. And having to be forced into choosing this all the time, most of the time, or Dark Pack could work, again, if it's strong enough. It's just, it's that feeling of it doesn't fit yet. Additionally, Tongue-Tied is your new talent that replaced where Demonic Circle was. This is a PvP talent in the PvE tree and probably shouldn't exist. It's that spells that are cast while targets are afflicted by your Curse of Tongues negate healing on the caster. It's Necrotic Strike from Death Knights. It absorbs healing on that target for the next 6 seconds. It'll be spell power based healing absorption. Currently, again, not hooked up. As you see the 0 there, it doesn't even proc. So, but it's in Mortal Coil and Dark Fury. Dark Fury was buffed by just a scotch. It has 2 more yards on the radius to be a bigger Dark Fury. I would somewhat argue that it also should reduce the cast time by maybe 0.5 seconds to make it a little snappier. But currently right now it's just the reduced cooldown, which is fine. The extra yardage, also fine. Mortal Coil unchanged, still really good. Still can be used as a pseudo interrupt. Still has that extra heal and that setup time for PvP and things of that nature. So Tongue-Tied doesn't make any sense. I have no idea. All right, AoE stuff real quick here. So the biggest AoE quote-unquote nerf in all this discussion is Fellstorm, which is 8 nearby targets within 8 yards. That is, of course, your Blade Storm on your Fell Guard. That does, of course, mean Demonic Strength now is somewhat weaker because it is only 8 targets per spin, right? Per chunk is only going to pick 8 targets. Now, of course, it's going to tick over and over and over and over again and faster based on your haste. So that's why it's a weird one that it has a target cap. It just sort of limits its overall potential. Dreadlash, no AoE shenanigans. Vile Scourge Bombers, also no AoE shenanigans. It hits everything. And on top of that, the only thing in the Demonology Toolkit that has the new damage divided by the square root of targets, the square root formula or square root law, is Implosion. So only Implosion has the fall off damage, which I can't really show you here on these dummies because I don't have any turnips nearby, but only Implosion does fall off damage. So we did a lot of testing of this on the actual live stream. The 171 Shadow Flame damage will immediately be divided by the square root of the targets you are hitting, making base Implosion a little bit but like Bile Scourge, Demonic Strength, and Dreadlash are supposed to kind of be your other AoE tool in the Demonology Toolkit. So the fact that Implosion baseline has the damage fall off square rooting isn't the end of the world. It just might make Implosion incredibly weak. Hand of Gul'dan, however, has none of that either. Baseline Hand of Gul'dan, it always hits for the full amount of damage, just of course scales with 1 or 2 or 3 soul shards cast within the 8 yards around the target landing zone. No fall off there. And I still have some things that I was trying to figure out and get sorted. Summon Vile Fiend has no changes, still does the spit and lasts basically a giant animated dot. From the Shadow still is not buffing your damage from not only the Warlock for Shadow Flame damage, so it will not buff your Tyrant. And it only buffs Demon Bolt and Gul'dan. Unfortunately, very awkward that it doesn't help at all. So Soul Strike might still be the set and forget ability here. And that leads me to the discussion about overall pet choices, which I sort of brought up earlier. Why does Soul Strike not just make your current pet do the same thing? Why does Demonic Strength not activate like an immolation aura around your current pet so you don't have to only have the Felguard out? And I know, thematically, the Felguard is a stronger pet. It is the one that is supposed to be used by the Demonology Warlock. But the trade-offs for forcing you out of any other Warlock pet if you talent into Demonic Strength and Soul Strike, which are quite often, unless you take Bile-Scourge Bombers for that extra burst AoE cleaviness. It seems very strange these are so pigeonholing you that they don't work with any other pet. Well, they easily just could. There's a feedback point right there. And then we summon some imps, just because. Demonic consumption still exists and still does the weirdness with the unseen hidden imp energy bar, which, as you saw there again, imps still have the cast that is desynced. All the imps do not immediately summon to the warlock, which still means that summoning your demonic tyrant might end in, with enough haste, you not actually eating up all of your imps from the previous Hand of Gul'Daniel cast, which also brings up that demonic consumption should probably just be yeeted. Just get rid of it. Or they should change the AI of how wild imps spawn so that Hand of Gul'dan equals 3 imps. So Hand of Gul'dan slams down, all 3 imps plop up next to you, all synced. None of this like pew pew pew, slow spawning nonsense, whatever. And why is Dark Glare an infernal instant cast? And Demonic Tyrant has a cast time. Jazz hands. It actually was super noticeable when I was playing Affliction today, doing the dungeon run, of course, that I would set everything up and then just, Beholder, right? Gazer Boy, get in there. Or when I was playing Demonology, there was this you set up and then you cast Demonic Tyrant and you have to stand still and cast him, which immediately means you're losing 2 seconds, if not, a little bit less because of haste, of demonic consumption, if and even is the talent choice you take. So it just, I don't know. So not a lot of feedback in this regard of trying to get Blizzard to totally recreate things is going to be workable. And we'll do a feedback session mid-June where we go back through all of this stuff and make really straightforward, bullet-pointed feedback. But I put forward, Ward Up was here when we were talking about this in chat, and he wants to call this Dark Soul spooky form. Just don't humor him, okay? I suggest blast demonic consumption, gone. I also suggest that baseline demonic tyrant should have the Baleful Invocation and Supreme Commander Azerite traits in the core of the spell. If that requires the spell to be turned off to like a 2-minute cooldown, I think a lot of warlocks said that's fine. As your core cooldown, making it 2 minutes, but it have the Baleful Invocation and Supreme Commander. Pretty good idea. And just remove the demonic consumption nonsense of him ever eating your imps. Just let him buff the demons you have out currently. Same thing else that he does as well. That extra duration and the damage amp. Sure, fine. Not a big deal. However, in the place of demonic consumption, I would like to suggest a demonic apotheosis or a demon form. A 3-minute cooldown that turns you into the old metamorphosis form that Demonology had for a very long time, and to synergize with how the Demonology Warlock plays now, not to go back to the jump in, fell stomp, immolation aura, chaos wave spam madness, but to give you another option in the cooldown category. That one is like more about yourself summoning demons, whereas Nether Portal needs to get fixed. I'm not going to talk about it because it's still broken. It still makes you want another portal and then 1 stack Hand of Gul'dan's over and over and over again, which is really, really dumb. And why does it do that? Please fix this spell, please. Demon form would give you a 10 or 12 second window of time, almost like an ascendance window, where you would plop into it and it would give you the spell itself. The icon itself would turn into Chaos Wave. You only get 1 use of Chaos Wave though. Okay, and actually Chaos Wave is in the actual alpha database with updated spell power ratio and the alpha build, so it's super troll. But Chaos Wave was your big ability to use on Metamorphosis form like when you had it. But say you go into this demon form, this demonic apotheosis, this momentary ingesting of demonic energy, and then you turn into the old Illidan form and start blasting. It gives you 4 charges of demonic core and gives you Hand of Gul'dan instant cast for the duration. So you'd be able to play around with weaving your demon bolts to get your Hand of Gul'dan's out there, always at 3, get a whole bunch of imps summoned, and then the the Chaos Wave hook there is that Chaos Wave is only castable after you've cast or used 4 demonic cores, essentially. And then what the damage would basically be 4 demon bolts worth of damage. You end your demon form with one big whoof Chaos Wave, which is basically like a super demon bolt that cleaves, I don't know, nearby targets, or maybe AoEs, or maybe just a pure single target, whatever it is, only once every 3 minutes. But it gives you that feeling of still summoning a whole bunch of stuff, even though it's only imps, blasting for a little bit, ending with that iconic slash damage, that Chaos Wave, Fell Wave, whatever you want to call it, Demonic Wave. And it gives you an option to have your 2-minute cooldown, rotational big Tyrant, this big boy right here. And then, or you can pair up, because he's obviously this, in this case, it would be like 0, 2, 4, 6 kind of a deal. Or you get your demon form, which might be 0, 3, 6, 9, because of 3-minute cooldown. And the server's been crashing all day, so I will log back in real quick as I wrap this stuff up. Imps still have the whole weird energy, each bolt is 20 energy nonsense. That kind of stuff still exists. So be it. But I think that there could be something really fun there to bring back that metamorphosis form and feeling, but still play to the way that the class, the spec in this case, currently plays. And I don't know, leave your thoughts down below. What do you think about bringing something like that back? What do you think about demonic consumption? What do you think about the suggestions for your Tyrant? Still also should be instant cast though. What the freaking heck? And let me know what you think. Also check the channel guide down below. Check the video description box for my Twitter or for my link to join my Discord if you want to give me feedback, if you want to know when I post videos, if you want to know when things go live, when I go live for testing. I put that on Twitter and you see it in my Discord, etc., etc. Whatever you'd like to do, if you want to keep in touch, check the links all down below. And of course, let me know what Demonology needs, because it still works, it still plays, it's still functional, it flows, it builds, it spends, it summons imps. There's an awesome thread in the alpha forum post that Baal put together with a whole bunch of other warlocks, like I said before, that talks about this whole like customizable cosmetic grimoire that your demons can be skinned to look like different things but still function like they do now. That would be awesome. Why do only beast mastery hunters get to use the stables? Why isn't there like a demonic stable that you get to use? I don't know. But that is the Demonology Warlock. I think it's almost there. This load screen is taking forever, but so will the alpha servers. They've been up and down all day. Thank you very much for listening and or watching and providing your feedback, tuning into the live streams. The Week of Fel continues with the Affliction Warlock up next, followed by Destruction, which is very sad. Oh, it's so sad.